Hi there, this is Erez with ZSA, and today I'm going to show you how to customize your keyboard. The first thing you're going to see when you use our configurator is a screen asking you to pick. Are you going to be working with the ErgoDox Easy or with the Planck Easy? For this video, we're going to be looking at the ErgoDox Easy. As you click into the keyboard, the first thing you see is the default layout. In itself, this is already useful because this is a way to interactively explore whatever ships on your keyboard out of the box. Meaning, this is how your ErgoDox Easy works when you take it out of the box and plug it in for the first time. You'll see that some of the keys are colored differently. To see what the colors mean, hover your mouse on the bottom left corner and a legend will pop up. The default layout is a pretty good starting point for customizing your keyboard, but you can also use the search feature to find other layouts. For example, let's say you're looking for a Swedish layout. All you do is click on this label and you see a host of Swedish layouts. You could also type in your own string here to search for. For example, if you were looking for something that's customized for Vim. Here's a whole bunch, 4,639 as of this recording, of Vim related layouts. So there is many to pick from as starting points. For this video though, we're going to be using the default layout. Before we get started, I'm going to do something that's optional but very helpful, which is sign in with my user account. This will let me keep track of my layouts over time. So I already have an account. If I didn't have one, I would sign up. I already do, so I would sign in. And I'm going to sign in with Google. And here I am, signed in and ready to begin customizing. The first thing I'll do is clone and modify the default layout. And then I'm going to rename it. There we are. The first thing I want to do is specify. Do I have the original ErgoDox Easy, which has no lighting at all, the Shine, which has mood lighting, or the Glow, which has RGB backlit keycaps? I'm going to go with the Glow. The simplest thing I could do right now is simply reassign a key. I can tap on this Q key and tap M on my keyboard, or tap the up arrow, or even enter. Any key I simply tap gets assigned to this particular key and automatically saved onto my layout. If I wanted to do something a little bit more involved, I could click into the search box and, for example, make this into a dual function key. So let's start searching for dual, and we see a number of dual function keys. Let's say I want to use this key as my left control. So it's going to act as a left control when I hold it down and as a Q when I tap it. And there we are. So whenever you want to do something a little more involved, use the search box. You'll note that the default layout has a number of layers. You can click around to explore these, and if you like, you can also name them. For example, this layer has a number of mouse keys and media keys. So I'm going to name it M and M, mouse and media. Well, this layer has lots of symbols and numbers, so I'm going to rename it Symbols. Naming is optional but can help you navigate your layers. You can also move layers around. For example, if we look at layer 0, you'll see that we have a number of keys here that push us over into layer 1, such as this key and this key. Now let's take the symbols layer, click into it and move it to the right. Now my symbols layer became layer 2. If we check back in layer 0, we'll find that those same keys have been updated to push us over to layer 2 now. We can also easily add a new layer by hitting the plus button here. You'll note that on this new layer, the keys are grayed out, but have letters and numbers on them. That's because any key that's left undefined on a new layer will still send whatever is defined on layer 0. So you can see our Q and left control dual function key peeking through here. And indeed, if we don't override this key, whenever we switch to layer 3, this is what will happen. But of course, we're free to define it to do something else when we're in layer 3. Speaking of layer switching, there are a number of ways to switch to layers. You can, for example, switch to a layer when you simply tap a key. This is what this does. Tap this key and you switch to this layer. But if you go into the search box and type layer, you'll see several different kinds of layer switching keys. Explore these because you could, for example, do a one-shot where you tap a key, then tap another key in the destination layer and you pop back out of the destination layer. Or you can have one where you hold down and then you're in the destination layer only as long as it's held down. There are really quite a few of these and they can work in interesting ways. Now let's remove that layer we just created and talk about lights. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to delete this layer. Delete. All right. Now, since we are configuring an ErgoDox EZ Glow, it has glowing keys. We can do a number of things with these. For example, let's say I wanted the board to glow in a certain hue whenever I switch to layer 1. So I'm going to click into layer 1 and I'm going to assign a layer color. And now, whenever I switch to layer 1, these keys will all begin glowing in this hue, giving me immediate indication that I'm on layer 1. There are, of course, the status LEDs on the top right of the keyboard that also reflect the current layer, but this is a very visual way to see which layer I'm on. Another thing you can do with Glow is define individual key colors. For example, let's say I wanted the mouse keys to glow in a certain color when I'm in layer 1. I can click a swatch of color, for example this, and click on the mouse keys to make them glow in a different color than the rest of the layer. And perhaps I wanted the media keys to glow a different color, so I can do this. And of course, I can also customize the swatches like this. Now we're going to move this layer back where it belongs because I find this a little confusing. So let's move it to the right. And now the symbols layer is back where it should be. You'll note that on the symbols layer, we have a cluster of keys that's used to manually control the LEDs. The way this works is whenever there isn't a preset LED configuration, for example, on layer 2, I now have something preset. But whenever there isn't something preset, I can actually modify the LEDs like this and increase or decrease the brightness, toggle animations, change the hue, and so on. Now, let's say I do have something that's preset and I want to override it temporarily while I use the keyboard. I can add a new key code here. I click in, I go to the Colors tab, and I add Toggle Layer Colors. This key is not on the default layout because it only applies to the ErgoDox EZ Glow, and it only is useful if you assign per layer or per key colors. But if you do, tapping this key will disable them and let you manually control the LEDs using this cluster of keys, and then tap it again to re-enable the automatic LED assignments that we just saw before. The next area we'd like to explore is the advanced settings. These can be found on the cogwheel on the top right corner. The first thing you'll see is this disclaimer. Now these are advanced settings. You can actually change them in ways that make your keyboard difficult to use. So, use them at your own risk, but they can be quite useful. In this case, yes, we're going to go ahead and tweak them. There is a search box here that you can type in and basically filter out the settings of all categories to quickly find what you need. But for this video, we're going to look at one category that's near and dear to my heart, which is our international support. When you click here, you'll see a number of languages we currently support. We're constantly adding to this list. And let's say you are a German user and you say, well, I'd like to easily define key codes in German. You simply flick this on. And now when we go back here and click into the search box and start typing German, we'll see lots and lots of German characters. For these characters to work, your input locale in Windows or Linux or Mac OS needs to be set to German. But assuming it is, and you tap this key, you will get this character. This makes it very easy to use and customize the ErgoDox EZ in various languages. Now let's assume that you're done and you want to flash your customizations onto your keyboard. If you're logged in, you will see this text box inviting you to annotate your change. This is a good idea because these notes will go into the history of your layout and allow you to keep track of revisions over time. So I'm going to write a simple message here. And now I'm ready to compile the layout. Now that the layout's been compiled, I can see my message here, which is similar to a commit message, and I can see the revision number, and I can download the layout and flash it onto my keyboard. If I wanted to, I could also download the source code and use it to further customize the keyboard within QMK. The layout will also show up on my layouts page, and we can see that I created it, and this is my first revision. My next revision will simply be added to the same list, so I can easily keep track of how it evolves over time. So this is how the configurator works in a nutshell. We are constantly updating it, so you can follow us on Medium and YouTube to see new updates just about every month. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think.